Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's March 12th, 2026 Board of Ed meeting. The time now is 7:33. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Muscarella for superintendent's comments.
Okay. Well, we're going to do this a little differently because we have some people to recognize here this evening. So, good evening to everyone and welcome to our second meeting in the week. And today, though, before we start business, really excited to recognize 4 exceptional, dedicated, and talented educators from among our many talented educators here. You know, in education, the true impact of a teacher is often measured not only in the lessons taught, but in the curiosity sparked, the confidence built, and the lives shaped over time. Tonight, we're proud to celebrate 4 teachers whose work exemplifies the very best of our profession. With that, first, join me in welcoming Denise Dooling from East Plain Elementary School. Okay, so Denise has been named New York State Master Teacher. Congratulations. A distinction awarded to educators who demonstrate outstanding content knowledge and passion for advancing STEM education while mentoring colleagues and inspiring students to pursue the field of teaching. Denise teaches 2nd grade and has been involved in teaching parent workshops, mentoring teachers, and you've been here as long as I've taken courses with you, I think. Teachers and leading professional development courses for teachers. She's excited to be part of the professional learning community and has taken part in workshops with the Wildlife Conservation Society. She looks forward to bringing the knowledge to her classroom and strengthening student engagement in STEM. So congratulations to you, Denise. We'll get you all together. Welcome. Okay. Okay.
We good?
And next we have Kate. You can stay up here, Denise, if you want. Let everybody see you. If you look at all the Okay, here we go. Next we have Caitlin Sweeney. She's been recognized for achieving national board certification. Wow. I happen to have seen people go through that and they don't look as good as you. It was a little harrowing, so good for you. She's from the middle school, and she's gotten national board certification, one of the most respected professional distinctions in education. This certification reflects deep commitment to professional growth, rigorous standards of practice, and dedication to continually refining the craft of teaching to benefit of students. Caitlin teaches ICT, ELA, and social studies in 6th grade. She's been involved in many aspects of the middle school. She's a co-advisor of the National Junior Honor Society, a team leader, and she's been deeply involved in organizing Law Enforcement Day for the middle schools. She presented at National Forum for Middle Schools in Washington, D.C., when we represented the National Essential Elements School to Watch. She has helped create an advisory program for all of our middle school students, and Caitlin is a well-respected colleague and is loved by her students in class. Somebody wants to say something. Caitlin, do you want to say anything?
No.
Because I just noticed it. They didn't walk to it.
I would like to say one thing.
There you go.
I would like to, not here, but I'd like to thank Deborah Fallon because she really encouraged me to go for the math teacher. I didn't think I could do it, and she kept putting the fire, and really encouraging me to do it. So I wanted to give credit where credit was due because she really pushed me and gave me the know-how, and she really helped me. And Mark wrote me a beautiful recommendation as well as Holly Martini. So I thank all of them for helping me to achieve this. Thank you.
She inspired you.
She did.
There you go. Joining them is Dr. Eileen Santoro, I might say. By the way, I kept writing my own notes, and I wrote Eileen Shannon. I go, I swear she got married one time ago. It was my own head calling you Shannon, not the words on the page. And I had to look at the certificate, so you wasn't so. Here we go. You are from East Plain Elementary School as well, and you are the recipient of the Newsday Teacher Spotlight Award. This honor highlights educators who go above and beyond, you know how I mean, go above and beyond every day to inspire their students, foster a love of learning, and make a lasting difference in their school communities. We're also especially proud that Eileen recently was honored with the 2026 Asset Award Bright Light Award, further acknowledging her dedication to students and her meaningful impact within our school community. Eileen has been a valued member of Plain Edge District for 14. I thought you were 25. For 14 years and currently serves as the string teacher at East Plain Elementary School. She is an exceptional educator whose work is distinguished by innovation, a strong focus on technology integration, and an unwavering commitment to student growth and achievement. Eileen's impact extends well beyond her classroom. She leads meaningful in-service learning initiatives, provides thoughtful mentorship to new educators, and expertly manages the East Plain School Garden, enriching the school. And maybe feeding them too, who knows? What's in the garden? Is that the tomatoes and stuff? Good for you, going over there. Okay, Eileen, here we go. I have to get Caitlin part, because I didn't do that. We can get a picture of Caitlin, I realize it's so pretty. Isn't that pretty? There you go. And Eileen, you get yours. It says Singapore, not Shannon. It was good that you don't have to change those initial things though, right? It was S, that was good, smart move. Anyway, finally, we're thrilled to acknowledge Megan Bender from Florida. Elementary School has been named New York Islanders Teacher of the Year, an award that celebrates educators who made a profound impact on students both inside and outside the classroom, demonstrating leadership, compassion, and unwavering commitment to student success. Megan's a fifth grade special ed teacher and was recently honored at the New York Islanders, a recognition that made her a great experience for Megan, for Jen Thurl, and her family, who are all lifelong Islander fans. They were all invited to a game where they had an exciting opportunity to meet the owner, John Ledecky, and cheer on the Islanders to victory. In addition to the unforgettable experience, Megan was awarded $500 for her classroom courtesy of Xerox. The honor celebrates Megan's dedication to her students and the positive impact she makes every day in the classroom. Congratulations, Megan.
Sure. We'll take a group one too.
Each of these recognitions reflects not only the individual excellence, but also the strong culture of learning, collaboration, and dedication that exists throughout the district. We are incredibly proud of these educators and are grateful for the passion and care they bring to their classrooms and to our students every single day. Congratulations. You want to take a picture, anybody? That's on me.
Oh, no.
I was gonna, I didn't want to put the microphone in front of you.
Congratulations to everybody again.
Well, did I mess everything?
Okay. I got about 700. We'll get
Congratulations again.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was still, was it still in the shipment? All right, we have Mr. Michael Mark from Mark Design Studios to discuss some capital improvement items. Thank you for coming.
What's the mic?
You want to take the mic and walk around, or it's up to you?
Hi, everybody, how are you? Okay, so we're going to talk about the capital facilities and the conditions of all the existing buildings and some items that are planned in the upcoming future. So we just completed a building condition survey. This is where Architects and engineers walk every room of every building and evaluate every system within the building. It's something the state requires us to do every 5 years, and this information is used by the school district and the state to really determine what to do with the buildings, how to plan ahead, and do that. So the building condition survey is a snapshot in time. It's the buildings as we saw them at the moment that we really walk through them. Even if improvements are already planned and approved, but they haven't been performed yet, we'll evaluate them based on the conditions that we saw them on the day that we did. So this is done every 5 years by the state. The last time Plan Edge had it done was in 2020. The next one will be in 2030. Okay? There's a detailed checklist. I have copies of them if you need. There's 62 pages for each building, breaking the building down into 129 different categories. And each category is reviewed and determinations made based on condition. If we feel something needs to be addressed within the next 5 years, doesn't mean that it must be addressed in the next 5 years necessarily, but it should be looked at, evaluated. We'll prioritize as a group later with a facilities committee to determine if it's a year 1 item that needs to be addressed right away or a year 5 item. So again, this is only existing conditions, not proposed wish list items, academic improvements, spaces for that, etc. These are the basic categories, major categories within those 129. So they're broken out into site utilities, water, sewer, plumbing, etc. Site features, which would be the asphalt, the concrete, curbs, building structure, building envelope, building interior, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, plumbing, fire suppression systems. That's not fire alarm. This would be areas with sprinkler or kitchen hoods. Electrical systems, student transportation, accessibility, only in compliance with code, environmental comfort and health, and indoor air quality. Building by building, this report is completed, submitted to the state for their review, and then to be discussed with the board and a facilities committee to make a course of action. So East Plain up first, it's a 72-year-old building, the original part of the building. Some of your systems are original, some of them have been improved or replaced over time. It had additions in 2001, 2007, and 2019, which was the STEM Center. The overall building rating says satisfactory, so I want to just explain what that means, because you're going to see that in every building going forward. The state gives us these definitions of categories and buckets that we have to put everything in. This is a building-wide evaluation. So according to their definitions, satisfactory is that all systems classified as health and safety or structural were satisfactory or better, and that none of your systems were deemed non-functioning or in critical failure. Doesn't mean things don't need work. It means that everything's operating, your maintenance staff, your facility staff is keeping things operational, and that nothing is failing, the buildings are safe to occupy. But as an overall evaluation, satisfactory is what we get. Anything needed to be done in the next 5 years in that 62-page checklist has a cost associated with it that we estimate based on today's costs. If it's moved down the road to year 2, 3, 4, or 5, those costs would escalate over time and increase. So the longer we defer, things get more expensive as time goes by. The condition degrades, materials get more expensive. We recognize that no school district can do all of the work in year 1. So that's the prioritization that will happen with the guidance of the board. These are some of the conditions in this building that we saw. We have some flooring in the top left there that's cracked and in need of replacement. Asphalt conditions, this winter was a particularly difficult winter in terms of freeze-thaw cycles. So any moisture that got into cracks froze and heaved. As that thawed out, it opened up. So we are seeing a lot of asphalt and concrete issues globally and in all schools, not just Plain Edge. Some conditions on the gym wall pads that needed to be addressed that were noted as well. Just typical examples. We can't show you everything tonight, but it's all in the report, and we're happy to discuss this at any time the district would like. Schwarting next, 71 years old, 1955 originally. Additions again in 64, 2002, and 2019. Same building condition, so it's satisfactory. Everything is working or able to work. Nothing is failing in the building. Nothing is unsafe. All the health and safety items are satisfactory. and $9,080,295 was today's cost. So again, that's construction cost. That's not all associated costs. So the cost of an architect, legal counsel, permits, fees, testing, construction manager, any of those would be on top. And they go anywhere from 6 to 18%, depending on how complex the project is. And some of the conditions we saw at shorting. So on the masonry end, the chimney's in need of restoration. We saw masonry cracks that need to be addressed. Fairly minor right now, but we like to address them when they're minor. They're much less expensive than waiting for them to increase over time. Asphalt again, flooring again, we'll see a lot of that district-wide. Plannage does a great job systematically replacing floors, a few at a time each year. But there are so many that we want to get ahead of it and maybe take advantage of an economy of scale and do more of them up front. John West, one of your oldest buildings, 78 years old. Again, 63, 2000 and 2019. Again, the STEM Center over there. Satisfactory here as well. 8.6 million in repairs. Specifically masonry issues, quite a bit of it here. The two buildings that need the most masonry work are John West and the high school. You'll see that. Site work is globally everywhere. Ceilings and lighting need improvement here. The light quality can be improved upon, certainly. You have a lot of 2x4 ceilings. What you see above us is 2x2. They work really well in schools. The problem with 2x4 is they tend to sag over time and, eventually become an issue. There's a certain point where they sag beyond the point they'll need to be replaced. Middle school, the original part of the building, the old elementary school is 72 years old, but obviously 2003, most of that building was rebuilt. Again, satisfactory. We do have some issues here with the roofing. The roofing is out of warranty, but that doesn't mean, as we discussed, that it needs to be replaced immediately. But it's something that we should put on our radar. So, roof that's out of warranty, roofs can last, they have a warranty for 20 years, but they can last 30 or 40 with proper maintenance. This is one of the discussions we took. What we need to do periodically is inspect the roofs, test the roofs, address and repair any minor leaks, which are very inexpensive to do, as opposed to waiting for a roof to fail and then a roof-wide replacement becomes very expensive. The building condition survey can be a bit misleading in the fact that we see a roof that's out of warranty, we write as a comment that roof should be planned for replacement, and there's a cost for replacement associated. So you see a number of 14 million here, about 4 or 5 million of it is roofing, but we may be able to defer that with proper maintenance and repairs. So that's something that will get fine-tuned and established by the committee when everything is prioritized. One of the conditions we saw here that's a more urgent one is the stair tread covers. They're all starting to crack and lift. The district has done their best to maintain them, take them down, prevent them from becoming trip hazards, but eventually they're in need of replacement. And these are one of the more urgent projects that can be addressed. It's not a huge project, but it's something that is important. It's a health and safety item because we don't want trip hazards happening in the hallways, especially in the middle or high school where they're traveling so often. Okay? Also, masonry issues that we see here, some flooring issues that are planned for replacement. But again, the building condition survey captures today's condition, not post-replacement or planned replacement. And the high school, 69 years old. We've had additions in 2021, 2022, cafeteria, fitness center, music wing, satisfactory here as well. But the infrastructure in the building is quite old and should be maintained, monitored, and eventually replaced. And some of the conditions we saw here, again, site work, masonry, we have some windows. A majority of the windows in this building were replaced, but there are some left, and we're looking at finishing that project within the next cycle of projects to be done. There's still some old flooring that needs to be replaced as well, asphalt and concrete cracks also. So these are the ones we noted as the most significant priorities across the district. So at the middle school, stair treads we discussed, elementary school windows and elementary school HVAC. So the middle school mostly reconstructed in 2003 and air conditioned. The high school, we did a building-wide HVAC project to air condition as well, but we'd like to continue that and go on to the middle school, the elementary schools as well. When we replace the HVAC, we don't want to put window units back through new windows. So the window units go away, the windows will be replaced, and those typically happen in tandem. So it makes your new HVAC system much more efficient if we have a better building envelope and windows that aren't leaking. Roof replacement at the middle school, this would be a portion of the building, again, after testing. Whatever area needed replacement, we would bring a recommendation to the board at that time and do a cost estimate for that. The balance of the high school window replacement, which is the north side of the building behind you, and also the lower level of the courtyard on the west wall. Masonry restoration at John West and the high school, as we discussed earlier. Flooring replacements, middle and high school. There's quite a few there that are in need. They simply get more traffic than the elementary schools. The elementary schools are in need also, but these are probably the higher priority. And site improvements, asphalt, concrete, curbing, particularly after this winter, in need of repair or replacement, building by building. So where does the money come from is what the community is probably wondering. So there's really, this district has done a phenomenal job for many, many years in establishing capital reserves and wisely using the reserves. Some of the community might read here in the paper about a lot of school districts that put out major bonds, and Plain Judge has done a great job of avoiding that by smart planning and investing in your future. The cap reserves are what help you do that. So for those that don't know in the public, they take any extra monies that are left over and put aside basically as a savings account to pay for these repairs. It's much cheaper to do that than to borrow it and pay interest. So we have 2 cap reserves that are already existing and established with fund balances left in them. Cap Reserve 3 was approved by the community for safety and security items, which include the window replacements. Cap Reserve 4 was general for facilities, and that has about 3.8 million. So we have about 6 million overall in cap reserves available, that there will be propositions in the budget this year potentially to expend that money. We need community permission to spend the money on the projects. So cap reserve 3, this is the security item. We have the 2 million left, so this is where we're looking to utilize the money on hand to cover the classroom windows at East Plain and the high school remaining windows. So we talked about all 3 elementary schools needing windows and HVAC, but it's too much money to do it all in 1 year, so the game plan was to sort of prioritize and do 1 each year for the next 3 years. And then cap reserve 4 is general projects. So here is where we would handle the HVAC at East Plain to go along with the window replacement. Schwarting, we have the Flower Road project that needs to be done. That road is falling apart at this point. This is right in front of the school. The asphalt is crumbling. There's very poor drainage. The road floods. So we do have already approval from the state, but we need the funds to hit the project and get that awarded. Middle school stair treads and risers, we saw that earlier. And also the middle school site restoration, that would button up that building and complete that one so that next year we can move to another building. So this is essentially what would be left in each of those fund balances after these projects to address any issues that potentially came up. So we are looking to address the projects on that list, but if something else were to come up, there are still reserves left to cover that. And future projects. So building condition survey looks at what's there right now, but the capital committee will get together, we'll meet with you, review the building condition survey, and at that point get input from your administrators as well in terms of what wish list items are. What do the teachers and the staff need more of in order to teach effectively and to meet your curriculum needs? That will get incorporated into the building condition survey and become a 5-year plan. Where we will prioritize with you, work to do that, then take the information that you give us, develop estimates year to year that include the escalation on the price so that we can give you the information and knowledge to make decisions upon. To say year 1 it will cost X, year 2 Y, year 3 Z, etc. And at that point the district will make decisions on continuing to fund a cap reserve, creating a new cap reserve, potentially borrowing, but whatever that decision is made is down the road. And ultimately, you'll need voter approval, as you're aware of, to create a cap reserve, spend from a cap reserve, or float a bond.
Actually, a few comments and questions.
Sure.
So again, I think, we spoke at Agenda Prep, Mike and I were there. That's where we talked about at a high level some of the stuff. And I started going through the list. And as I mentioned during the meeting, I have a practical view of how we should probably do some projects. So for example, take the ceiling tiles, right? 2x4. I started thinking about that and I was like, if we have to change all the gridding and stuff, right? That's probably a lot more expensive than just putting in new 2x4 tiles every once in a while, right? So if we replace light for light, we just take that tile out and then you just put the new one in. Isn't that an easier capital improvement, let's say, than ripping this whole gridding out and having to redo it? I mean, those are the things I kind of want us to start thinking about.
Sure.
Because, when we're talking about taxpayer dollars, I just want to be very cognizant of, is this something that we actually have to do it this way, or is there an alternative that's more practical? Still pretty much gives us the same result, which is nice new tiles. Maybe the life on a tile sags in 15 years. By then they're probably yellow and old and it's cheap enough. I mean, I don't think these things are particularly expensive to pop out and pop back in. So I think as we go through these, and when I saw those numbers, they're not like large, but like if it's half the cost, I'll take that money back so that we don't have to charge it to the taxpayers, right? As we build up capital reserves, et cetera. It's just something I kind of want to think about.
I agree with you, Joe, because I've seen custodians do it. They take a ladder, they go up there, they put it in, and we're good for another 15 years. So
Yeah, so
I've seen that happen.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways to look at that. So a few things. We can change a 2x4 grid to a 2x2 grid fairly easily. You can snap in cross T's and do that.
Okay,
If you have the staff and the ability to do that, that's always the best way.
got it.
The downside is as an SED project, that's a repair, not a replacement. Replacements are eligible for state aid, which means you've got money coming back to you every year for completed projects.
Right.
You could do it in-house, you don't have to borrow the money, you're spending less, but you don't have any incoming aid revenue. So it all comes down to resources and management, and if you have the staff available, absolutely you can mitigate some of that. You can do some X number of classrooms every year with your in-house staff. If you have the ability to do so, change the lights in the same breath. Absolutely, that's one way to go. And some of our districts do that. There's different types of tiles. The type you have here, where the tile hangs down below the grid, is called a tegular tile. These do a much better job hiding the old grid. So it's just a matter of picking the right tile and then adding in the braces every 2 feet, which just snap into the existing grid. So that is a way you can go.
Right.
But it's considered an in-house maintenance repair, not a capital improvement replacement.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I want to think creatively like that.
Sure.
Model out costs. I mean, also when we think about building aid, it's over 15 years, I think, right? Is that correct? So 15 years out, a dollar is not worth the same as a dollar today. Which is why I've never done the analysis from a finance perspective, right? But if you bond something out in a low interest rate environment that we had a few years ago, and you start thinking about time value of money, you might actually be ahead of spending the money today and then build, trying to calculate what that value over 15 years ago. I mean, obviously it's a financial exercise and I haven't done it, but I would imagine there's maybe the bond person does it or someone, or, we should probably do that exercise to be like, is it actually, I'm not saying we should bond, I agree. Like, I think generally speaking, this has worked really well, but I do want to explore other alternatives and say, is this really the route we should do? Or is this, like in an environment that we're in right now, that's a high interest rate borrowing environment, it wouldn't make sense to bond out. Like, I think actually the numbers wouldn't work out. But, whatever it was 4 years ago, if a bond was at a 1.75% interest rate, that might make sense, So and maybe we actually model it out financially and it doesn't make sense, right? So
Absolutely.
I think those are the things I want to start thinking about that. And then in terms of like the 2x2 and 2x4, I was just using that as an example. I think that a capital improvement committee is really the right place to have those conversations, right? Like, solicit.
And now that we have this, we can get that.
Yeah, that's exactly. right.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then like I said, your financial planners that the district works with can make that determination. There's pros and cons to borrowing
Yeah,
versus doing it slowly. Yeah. If you do it all now, you pay today's prices, not 8 or 10% escalation every year. So in some sense, it's cheaper, but then you're paying interest. So there's pros and cons and give and take and all that. And it's really your financial planners that will be able to do both projections for you and tell you which is going to be the best fit for you.
I appreciate that, because that's a good point I actually forgot, because I think even the high school windows, we were planning on doing the project and then just double it the following year.
Okay.
The price was changed. And so that's why we're like, that's actually a pretty big number if we were to try to do the whole back of the high school, which I think was left.
Right.
So we split it year 1, year 2. So that's actually another value.
I'll tell you, the cost of windows that we're bidding now, even though we started windows, 3 years ago, it's double the cost from 3 years ago. Because it's aluminum and glass, and for whatever reason, those trades got much more expensive.
These are nice windows, I have to say. I mean, they're solid.
Yeah.
I've seen them, so.
Yeah.
You know, it is a quality product. We do, when work is done, it's actually done.
And very hard to forecast building prices and how materials are gonna go up, but the last 3 years, there's been a lot of escalation. Some years we go with almost no escalation. So that like I said, you have to really look at every scenario to find out what the best fit for Planet is going to be.
Makes sense. Thank you.
I think the theme of that is we want to take a fresh look at how we do things, when we do things, and all that with the committee, not just this is how it's always been, it's worked pretty well. Maybe, but let's do the exercise and see if that's still the case.
Yeah.
God knows we would put the work in, we'll do a little more of that.
And that's why the state requires you to do this exercise every 5 years.
Absolutely.
I don't know if anyone.
Yeah, I see a big number like that and freak out, the 3.4 million. I do not support that whatsoever, so I'm hoping this could be put to the committee, have them analyze this. I don't support, that's a lot of money to put into their HVAC system. I believe we could probably wait till it's towards the end of their life, right? So can't we wait till they go out, they break, repair it as is, as it happens, not redo the whole building when we know we could get another 5-10 years out of this. It's towards the end of the useful life. Sometimes it can go past that useful life, so.
I think though this is eliminating the window air conditioning.
Right.
And it's flying.
I'm okay putting I know it's not advised, but put another AC in that window, it's okay. I don't know, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you put a window unit in a new window?
The bigger issue is that we've got unit ventilators that are 60, 70 years old, and we can't get to the point where they fail because we're required to have mechanical ventilation in order to occupy the building. So if we had 5 or 6 units go down, they take half the year to get these units. We can't wait until they fail before we think about replacing them, so we have to be a bit proactive. It's considered a health and safety item because it's ventilation.
Yeah, I'll say, you did not want your boiler to break last month because now your house is 20 degrees, you got pipes breaking. Unfortunately, you are stuck kind of looking at it. It's good practice whether it's your house or not. Just because it's at the end of its life doesn't necessarily mean the boiler's gonna go bad. I had at one time a 70-year-old boiler in my house and it worked, not efficiently, it was paying a ton of oil. But if it would have broke when it was cold, now you're plugging in electric heaters and hoping your house doesn't burn down. And ultimately, when it comes to this stuff, I've gone through the exercise, believe it or not, in Farmingdale with them. Even with roofs, you look at what it's gonna cost in 10 years, Doug, and it's way more than what it is now. So these items that you don't have a choice but to fix when they break, and they're difficult to replace, like HVAC, like and that's really the big one, and your roofs are the other ones. Those are really things that I do think, even though it's a big number, you get ahead of because the alternative is gonna be really difficult. You're bringing in a temporary heating machine, temporary boilers on tractor trailers. There's a lot of site work that you don't realize just to plug a temporary unit in, and you'll end up spending more then. So
I agree. Wasn't it when the cafeteria was being done, they had to bring in a temporary unit and we had to.
Short.
Was it short? And they had to, you have to pay them just to turn the thing on.
Yeah.
So it's and excellent point. It's a health and safety issue. We are pre-K through 12. You really want to take the chance that 4-year-olds aren't going to have a safe environment to be in. I think
And the reality is that in terms of a benefit, delaying it, it's not going to get cheaper, it's only gonna increase in cost.
Right.
And
Michael,
other
Yeah, no, I
conditions
mean, I
can
think
worsen as well.
correct me if I'm wrong, that number had a utility upgrade in it too, didn't it?
It had a utility
About
upgrade.
800,000, it's about 800,000 upgrade to the
So
panel.
that's adding a second electric service to handle all the rooftop equipment because your existing building service can't handle that equipment. And state has a mandate, obviously, for cooling and this sort of, a window unit does cooling, not conditioning. You're not treating that air as it comes in, or filtering that air as it comes in, really. So this is sort of a one-shot, take care of everything in one fell swoop, like we did here at the high school. That unit now provides heating and cooling. And it also gives you some redundancy so that if your 70-year-old boiler does go down, and the boilers are much more durable than the HVAC systems, but if your boiler goes down, you can provide electric heat through these units as well. So it gives you a little bit of extra safety and cushion and redundancy in your heating system.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are all excellent points, and, you know, I think that's where having that outside input from the capital improvement committee is helpful. Obviously indicating which ones are high priority items versus, you know, less priority is important so that people can help inform the board. And obviously the board at the end is making the decision, but I think it's good to solicit that feedback from a variety of stakeholders.
That has to be voted on by proposition.
Well, yeah, that's true. Ultimately, that's right.
I think also, you know, looking at what I guess is the proposed proposition, if that makes any sense. I like that we're focusing on the things that have to get done. You know, we're focusing on windows. If you have old windows in your house, you know that gets old really quick when they're, I have one, it's actually a new window, it slams down. I gotta make sure the kids don't play with it, you know? And there's certain things that just should be the things you're saving up for. Quite frankly, you mentioned bond, there's no bond being discussed right now. But other things that are maybe more of a wish list item, I think that's a better opportunity to talk about borrowing money for the future, to do expansions and things. But when it comes to maintaining, you don't want to take out a home equity loan to put in a boiler, to put in a roof. You want to save money for those things. And, you know, I'm going to bring a lot of residential real estate experience into how I look at this. You do need to save for the fact that your roof is going to go bad every 25 to 30 years. You don't want to be taking out loans if you could avoid that. That's a bad financial picture to put yourself in. So I like what we're focusing on right now.
So where are we at? So we're gonna have the committee look at this, I guess, is that?
I don't know if we have enough time this year. Yeah, I mean, that's
I'm
gonna
not
be,
comfortable without, you know, we set up this whole committee and everything like that, they're supposed to vet.
We're setting up the committee, and as discussed, we wanted to have this in hand before the committee began its work, so that we had the opportunity for the committee to look out 5, 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I think the committee should look at this and, yeah, we don't have enough time, you know. That's unfortunate, but that's why we set the committee up to vet these items.
well, I would say, you know, other than, frankly, actually, I haven't seen this presentation.
Yeah,
We just had a general discussion at Agenda Prep with Mr. Mark. I think we should think about it, like we, you know, and then,
we still have to vote on a resolution, right? So
Yes, we're not.
is it on there?
Noreen, when does that,
I don't think it's on here.
That'll be the March 24th.
if we,
meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we should,
if we do this proposition, it has to be in our advertisement in the papers, which is due.
Actually,
To
the
the papers.
latest is the 24th of March. That's go to the papers.
The 24th, that's the day of our
Yeah,
meeting.
I can get another day out of it, but
Which
they're really.
which we meet on the 24th.
24th.
yeah, but I mean, you can't do it, you wouldn't be
Well, she
doing it the
said she
same
could get
day.
another
She can
day
get
out.
another day.
Oh,
You can run the publication, you can run the 4 ads, has to run 4 ads. If you change the ad, it starts it up again.
Yeah, I mean, look, I hate to do this, but maybe we just have another meeting somewhere in between. I think it's worth people going home, looking at the numbers, thinking about it, and then, you know, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but maybe we do a special meeting, have, you know, 20-minute meeting, talk about it, and then come back and at least, you know, we're not having Noreen rush around frantically trying to get the ad figured out and stuff. Like, people have time to dot their i's and cross their t's. Obviously, I think the ads, they probably have to go through the attorney too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone's probably working against the same deadlines. So I think
We're not unused to the walk-in, walk-out morning thing.
Right.
I know there's another proposition that we'll have to vote on as well regarding voting, so if we could fit in an 8 a.m. meeting and
So,
give everyone a week or some odd days to ask any questions they have a chance to review it, and then we can vote on the proposition next week.
yeah, I mean, what I could do is poll the board, find out what works, so that we have quorum, and, what day and time. Maybe it is morning, maybe it's evening, I don't know, but I'll poll the board, figure it out, and then we'll schedule it, and then try to get this wrapped up, at least, I'm not someone who likes to make rash decisions, or, especially when we're talking about dollar amounts like this. So taking a moment to mull it over and then make a decision, I think is the right approach. That's just,
I agree, that's a very,
I saw everybody looking at their calendars. Is that,
I'm wondering if we could move the meeting to another
I'll bring it up.
just that meeting?
Or
Pull the 24th meeting up to
first or something?
yeah, I don't think we have to figure it out now. Let me just take a look.
Yeah.
Get their schedules, understand what works for you, and then I'll take all the information and figure out maybe I could zero in on a day that works. And it gives also people time to look at the BCS, the whole list. If we have questions, we can ask Mr. Mark. I think again, like there's a lot of information here, and there's big dollar amounts associated with it. We should take our time.
I don't want to just make a decision right now and give you the green light. It's a lot to process, right? So it's almost $6 million worth. It's a big investment, and we need a resolution to vote on. So
Right.
we just can't. So,
Okay,
That sounds
so
fair, yeah.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I'm gonna,
Oh, sorry.
the actual full 62 pages, I want to drop
Okay,
this
I
out.
have my office, I can.
Thank you.
62
Can we
times
get
5.
that in PDF form? Then I'll save it to
I
my.
used to have the meeting together.
Yeah, the PDFs. Can we get PDFs of those?
Sure.
I can, so this I have them.
Yeah,
This year, next year.
I think you're gonna be disappointed in
What?
what you say. I mean, it's
Are you
not,
disappointed? I think I'll be okay. Yeah.
no, there's not, I mean, it's
What?
like a checklist.
A dollar amount, or what?
Why don't you explain what's on
Well,
that?
you show me.
It's
Tell me.
129.
I saw the sample.
It's 3 columns, high priority, medium priority, low priority. Has a very brief description of what it is that they're doing and a dollar amount. Like that's what it is. I think, again, I scanned it, I started thinking about, which is why my silly 2x4 question came in, but
There's no visualization.
there's no visuals or anything. I think, if you have questions.
And the building condition survey doesn't give us the ability to, so there's a category for masonry.
Right.
Where we have to give a grade to the masonry. So one could be falling apart, the rest of the building could be great. We have to give that an unsatisfactory rating, even though 90% of the building is okay.
And there's not many
Same thing for
categories to
roofing.
choose from. It's satisfactory or excellent. We're not
And I
gonna.
have 100 characters where I can write an explanation
Right.
of everything that I saw in an entire school building.
Sounds great.
So it's difficult, there's a lot of background and
I look at a
notes
lot of
on
things like
drawings
this,
and
so-
estimates and spreadsheets and everything else. But the BCS itself is 62 pages of checklists.
It's awesome.
Well, I think we're ready for the next topic. Everybody good? Moving on?
I'm content,
We'll get
yeah.
you that form, we'll get me the form.
62 pages times 5? That's,
That's right.
okay, good. Yeah.
Sounds good.
I need something to do after everyone goes to sleep. So, yeah, that's perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much. Appreciate you coming out.
Anytime.
Moving on, we're at the student representative comments, so I'll turn it over to Ms. Muldoon.
Actually, everything.
Nothing happened in 2 days?
No, things happen. It turned to Wednesday, and then it turned to Thursday, and it snowed again.
I mean, girls basketball are Long Island champions, right? So it happened between each other.
States on Sunday, right?
Regionals. Yeah, regionals and
Shooting farm
hopefully
is
some states.
12 o'clock. 12 o'clock on Sunday.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal it from them. All right, moving on, no routine approvals, discussions, and presentations. First one up is curriculum and instruction.
Sir. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. We're really excited to share our curriculum and instruction presentation tonight. I'm Dennis Ritchie. I'm joined tonight by Anna Kletzkin. Miss Dr. V. Paola and Miss Cardicello are at home caring for new and sick family members. So you'll be with us tonight. So for a historical perspective, last year we spent $1.3 million, and this year we're looking for $1,538,546. So a 14% increase from last year, and let's take a look at where some of that comes from. What you'll notice is there are a couple main budget drivers here. The first one that you notice is the BOCES services increasing significantly. That number actually comes from a couple of things. Over the last couple of years, we've seen a growing trend where in the past we had budgeted year to year for a 3% increase for BOCES services. That number ballooned over the last couple of years, upwards of 14 to 16% on certain contracts. And the other part of it is that BOCES also started taking on a lot more contracts. So because they are aidable, we are using a lot more of those services. So the number continues to go up. So in the past, in 25, 26, you'll see that we spent $548,000 and change. This year, we're asking $667,000 and change, which actually the dollar-to-dollar amount, that was the budgeted amount in 25, 26. The actual amount was significantly more. So we're trying to more accurately represent our actual expenditures that we're expecting for next year. The other big number that you'll see there is the summer program, adult ed, and STARS programs, which it's important to note that those are actually self-sustaining programs. So although it is on there and it is a bigger number, it's a self-sustaining program, so not going to really have an impact. Ms. Clutson?
I will stay away from the mic. I'll let you have that time.
Okay.
Okay. Academic core classes. So we've had some cross-curricular endeavors, one of them being artificial intelligence. Last year, we piloted various AI platforms. Our committee landed on Magic School. So this year, we did some teacher training around that. We also provided AI literacy for students in grades 9 through 12, as well as we will do that for grades 6 through 8. We talked about what is AI, how does it work, bias, hallucinations, plagiarism. So those are some of the topics we covered with that. We continue to provide opportunities for vertical alignment and articulation in grades K through 12. We continue implementation in New York State for the next gen standards in ELA, math, science, and social studies. We continue to also use data to inform our instruction. And there you will see some of the various platforms that we use for our data collection. We are currently exploring one platform to house all of that information so that it will help us to follow our students from year to year. On the humanities side, our work has really been rooted in the science of reading. And with the science of reading, which is over 50 decades of research in how students learn to read and write, one of the things that we take away from that research is that our brains are not wired to read and write. And so we really need explicit and systematic instruction. That's where Youth Live Phonics has come into play. And so that's been very helpful in helping our students learn to read as they learn to the letter sounds. We marry it with the decodable books to help our students become even more successful. That is also helping us with the encoding. Again, as they learn the letter sounds, it helps them to begin to write and to begin to become better spellers, knowing those phonics instruction. Along with that, with the Youth Live Phonics, we also, in the middle school, we have continued the Writing Revolution, which is explicit writing instruction. We are doing that 6 through 8. These are explicit writing strategies that can be infused across various content and as well as grade levels. We have also utilized No Reading in grades 3 through 8 for our grammar instruction. It's been very helpful to provide very targeted and personalized feedback for students. And all of this work through the writing, through the reading, is really leading us to that higher level testing, which ultimately they will see in ELA in grade 11. And so our students are going to be transitioning to a new exam starting in June. The majority of our students do take that ELA exam in January, but we do have a few students that will be taking it in June. And we have been continuing that work to move towards the next generation standards and doing professional development around that. Additionally, just talking about the science of reading, When you look at the science of reading, you have to really look at Scarborough's rope, which is part of the research. And when we look at that, one of the really important pieces of the reading rope and how students become skilled readers is that they need background knowledge. And so we have implemented the Nassau BOCES social studies curriculum so that when students are reading, they are connecting with that background knowledge that they may have been exposed in science or in social studies to really help them get a deeper comprehension of what they are reading. In the high school, they've continued to, or students have continued to strive for that seal of civic readiness, which is great, really working on projects and initiatives to help them to really understand how government works, be part of initiatives like volunteering, and what it means to really be a citizen in a democratic society.
Okay. In the world of math, science, and technology, similarly to the changes in the ELA test, this year we had our first Earth and Space Science as well as Biology regions and Algebra 2 regions. And going into next year, we will have the first iteration of the new Chemistry and Physics regions. So the professional development, obviously, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes for the teachers to prepare for that and get the kids ready for the exams, modify curriculum, and make sure that we're caught up with all the new changes. In K-6, we had our new math program, which is continuing to roll out now. Continuing with that, though, we still have ongoing work that we're doing. Ms. Carticello's meeting with teachers to continue ongoing professional development to support them. And our administrative team and teachers continue to look back at the assessments and other facets of the program to make sure that we're doing the best we can for the students. And our K-12 Magma Math program, which you'll see some pictures of that on the bottom of this slide, is an interesting program. It allows the teachers to see live what the students are doing in terms of mathematical process, so they can actually watch them interact with on their tablets. They're actually writing and solving problems live. The teacher can then even pinpoint certain students as anecdotes that they want to share with the class, put them up on the smartboard, and it allows for a lot more mathematical discourse to take place. It also allows the teachers to give a lot more targeted feedback to the students as they continue to work on their math work.
Next year, we have some new high school course offerings dependent upon the minimum enrollment. So we will be offering college pre-calculus with lab, AP pre-calculus, advanced algebra, as well as foundations of fitness, future ready leaders, and financial literacy for life.
All of those you can see in the course and the curriculum and program guide, which this will be posted on the website. So that link, if you actually click on that, will be located there, or you can find it on our website for the new curriculum guide. So this is a new shift that we've made. We've talked about it in the past with the board, but allowing the students to kind of follow a pathway, which is kind of like a passion project for them. So if there's a field or an interest that they have, they can more strategically select courses that help them align with a potential career path for the future, or help to figure out a career path that they might want to pivot to if something's not working out in their favor. So this also helps us to lay the groundwork for our Portrait of a Graduate work, which is going to be ongoing over the next couple of years. But it helps us to kind of set ourselves up for success for that, in addition to things like the seal of civic readiness, which Ms. Kletzkin just talked about. In the world of STREAM, we have a lot of really great things that we've been doing, as you can see, with our students and families. So a couple of things to highlight. Our Edge of the Stream event at the beginning of the school year, I know I saw many of you there, is an awesome event. The kids get the opportunity with no tech to be able to go and build activities together in their classes, use their engineering knowledge to be able to design something from the ground up. It was an awesome event. We also had another point, our middle school students recently we had a group that placed fourth they were a middle school group in a room full of high school competition team they did a great job and advanced on to another round of competition as well. Two other points to take a look at. We have our family stream night on Tuesday, May 12th. So we're looking forward to having everybody there, as well as our student Robot Connections activity, which is on April 25th. So another thing that we pride ourselves on is making sure that we're adapting for the whole child, that it's not just about numbers and letters, but that we're enhancing our opportunities with our social emotional learning and character education with our Character Strong program. So the fact that it is a pre-K-12 program is really unique, gives us the opportunity to have continuity throughout the years. We're really proud of that and all the work that our teachers and students have done, as well as our service learning opportunities, which help our students connect with the community and show them the values of service to our community as well. Our specialized programs, so our adult and summer programs, we have new offerings often, so it's really cool to see that things that are more niche things like pickleball are exploding. Great to get our community into our buildings and let them use the facilities. Summer Reader Leader program, 12-month special education program, which Ms. Murphy had spoken about during her presentation. STARS morning and afternoon enrichment activities. Middle school 6th grade summer camp, and our sail into kindergarten, which both of those help our students transition into new buildings for the first time, which are great.
Professional development, we continue our professional development as we always do. Our teacher center is absolutely fantastic in serving our teachers to see their needs, as well as creating professional development around district initiatives. So you can see here the various different types of professional development that we have, that we use: model school days, coaching teachers for preparation for new regions, teacher mentoring programs. So these are just various professional development that we have through the year.
And some exciting updates for the 26-27 year. We would like to announce that we are going to be moving to a 5th grade departmentalization model. So with this model, this is something that Plain Edge is not, it's not new to Plain Edge. We had it years ago, and now we're kind of bringing it back into the fold. The reason for that, it's another opportunity for us to help to bridge the gap to 6th grade for our middle school students. So basically, the students will be split between 2 classes. They will transition from a ELA social studies class in part of the day into a math and science class. It gives a lot of really unique opportunities. Aside from the benefits to teachers, where you become a master of your content and more specialized, it helps get more eyes on students as well. Helps make sure that we're adapting to their social emotional needs. If one teacher picks up on something another teacher might not see, gets more eyes on students. It also helps for the students to, research shows that it helps with students' engagement and achievement, helps prepare them for the middle school transition, helps reduce that anxiety for the transition, helps build organization and responsibility, supports executive function and independence, strengthens the teacher's expertise, which we mentioned, and helps to align our data analysis through content-specific professional learning communities.
Another piece of exciting information is we will be expanding pre-K across the district. We currently have 9 sections. We had 2 new sections over at the middle school, and they have been an absolutely fantastic addition. Our staff has been absolutely over the moon to have their beautiful faces there, just warming up the space. And so for next year, we're proposing 10 sections. And so we would have 2 sections at Charles E. Schwarting, 2 sections at the middle school, 2 sections at John H. West, and 4 sections at East Plain. Those parents that are currently on the wait list will be notified within the next 2 weeks.
Any questions?
So feels like the new math and science standards you kind of set to the same clock as a VCS survey. Feels like it changes all the time.
That's the world of
I'm
education.
curious to chart that out and
It
see.
swings and it swings back.
Yeah, I'm curious what the regression analysis on that would be. But anyway, in all seriousness though, obviously it's going to be our 250th, the country's 250th anniversary. I think heard whispers is there's plans for celebrating that appropriately. Give us any Do you have any
As a
ideas?
former history teacher, yeah, we're already talking about that.
Yes. The conversations have been alive and well for a couple of months now. We're working on partnering with the art department, with Mr. Fusaro, our director, not director of art, our coordinator of art, as well as we've been in conversation with members of the social studies department as well. We want to really try to find a balance between something that can bring to life the value of the day and celebrate it while also getting our kids involved. So we're trying to find and do something that's fiscally responsible, not have a $40,000 sculpture that's in front of one of the buildings. We also, one of our goals, depending on how we roll it out, is to try to have something in each of the buildings as well.
So I actually have a different take on that.
Sure.
It's something I've just been kind of kicking around. I kind of might have mentioned it to a few people. But just like being in Plain Edge, obviously law enforcement is very important, the military service, et cetera. And it's just something that, again, I don't know if it's something that'll come to fruition or not, but I had the idea of maybe thinking about like a wall of valor along that high school, the cafeteria, where we would honor first responders, military members. I don't know if it's an electronic screen, if it's plaques. I've seen all different types when I go visit other high schools. And I kind of became jealous. And when I was talking about it, I think I was talking to Mr. Garcia about it, like the next day Farmingdale announces they're doing it. And I was like actually really upset about that.
I didn't give him the idea. I swear I kept that private. I kept it private.
I know he likes to talk, so maybe it slipped or something, but
It was not on Facebook either.
talking about like pathways and stream, you had the slide up, Mr. Mark's here. Maybe we have students who are interested in architecture, art. Maybe they can start designing something, maybe a contest or something, and work with Mr. Mark. I mean, you're here, I'm sorry I'm picking on you, but
No, it's fine.
the opportunity's there. So, and just being able to like kind of bridge all these ideas together and take advantage of the resources we have here at Plain Edge. I just thought that was, it's just something maybe if it's possible. I know there's a lot of stuff on people's plate, but it is 250 years as a country. So, maybe it's worth the extra effort just to, make an imprint in this community and also show our appreciation to those who sacrifice so much to protect us, especially in light of all the world events that unfold today, what we're seeing. I think it's critically important that kids are taught to be proud of those who are willing to sacrifice their lives for us.
Absolutely.
So I just want to see if maybe we could start thinking about that.
Sure. Yep.
That's all I have. I don't know if anything else. Anything else?
Two things. One, Magma Math, right? So you said that kids are using iPads, and I see the slide that has the
Chromebook.
Yep. Or is this an iPad? I guess.
No, it's all done on their touchscreen Chromebook.
Touchscreen Chromebook. All right. So they do. How much? Is this the most conducive place for kids to be doing math on a touchscreen? I feel like.
So it's an interesting point.
Yeah, pen and paper.
Pen and paper math,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like when we think about math, that's the most traditional way that we want to think about it. What we're trying to do is make sure that when we use technology, we're using it in a way where we are doing something with it that we couldn't otherwise do without it, right? So in this example, Magma Math, what it allows us to do is the teacher, on the teacher's dashboard, the teacher can actually see every student's screen in the classroom live. So if they're making a mistake, they can catch it live. If they are doing something that they want to highlight, or even something that they want to bring up as a common misconception that they saw one student did, they can do it anonymously, so the students aren't admonished or anything like that in front of the class. They post something, and it allows for class discourse, because those two things are really the driving factors when it comes to what is going to move the needle for students. It's having strong, rigorous conversations, and the second thing is teacher feedback.
So that's the added value right there. Is that
Absolutely.
we could say, student A anonymous, they did it wrong, but that's the way most people get it wrong, I guess. So just to highlight.
And there's other really creative ways that I've seen our teachers doing it, just being in classrooms. Like I saw one teacher where the students are doing centers, the teacher can only be in one place at a time. So it's actually capturing the work that the teacher might not be able to see, and the teacher can review it after the fact too. While they can do that on paper and pen, they can give them feedback through the portal too as well. So it just allows for other unique opportunities.
So
Again, just leveraging tech.
So let's say, the 24 kids in the class, their inputs are being recorded, and then later the teacher can look at it and
Correct.
say,
Yep,
oh, so-and-so kid needs to be, taught a little bit more in
exactly.
a certain method or whatnot. All right, so, okay.
I mean, that mixed with the teacher's professional discretion. They know what to look for and the kinds of misconceptions that they've seen in the past. So.
And then with the fifth grade departmentalization, so if I move into this, it's gotta be like long-term sustainable, I guess, if we thought about it, I guess making sure that we're not just gonna do it for a couple of
Yes.
years and, all right, let's go back 2 years later, we're gonna make sure this is
Yes,
sustainable.
I mean, we've had conversations behind the scenes about it with the building teams as well. So it's important to know that these decisions and like these kinds of shifts never get made in isolation. So to your point, we've already had some planning conversations about what would this entail? Is it feasible to even roll it out by September? Is it something we can execute right away, or is it more of like a long-term dream? Especially because of the fact that we've done this in the past. It's something that we feel very confidently is going to be successful right out of the gates. We feel like we're going to have to buy-in, especially that the teachers feel and understand the value. Like our teachers have articulation meetings. There's things that they know that are the needs of the middle school. They hear the conversations from you and the community. They want to be able to support the students and do what is best for them. So if the transition to middle school is challenging, we want to find another way to be able to support them in that. This is another great way to do it.
I was thinking with the new superintendent coming into play, like, this is a fairly big change. I guess, so you're ready day one to show this person, I guess, this is why we're doing this. All right, so.
And it's also something that's not like wildly uncommon and not been
Yeah.
done in other
They might
school
be
districts.
familiar
It's,
Most
it's a fairly common practice
Just-
around the island.
Just to interject, was just kind of observing the room when Mr. Ricci was talking about it. Not to call anyone out, but maybe they were doing it involuntarily. I saw a lot of our teachers going like this. I think there's buy-in, and hopefully, I think it will be successful. I have confidence that we have the right people in place to do that.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
I have a couple, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Definitely on, I didn't hear about the departmentalization, even if I can't say it well. My wife always found it easier to teach that way too. She's reading. Math, she struggled in that subject teaching it, so I think it's great. I think it's great for the kids, number one. We have some of these academic competitive clubs, I guess is the best way to say it, robotics being one of them. I think we should lean into those a little bit more and take a look over time at how we can maybe support those just a little more. One of the things that I love about sports is failure. In fact, if you didn't win the Super Bowl, every other time you failed. And even in a game, you can fail the conversion, you can fail your job that play. And then you had to recover quickly to get back to your job, right? And there aren't a lot of places left because we spend so much time trying to make things easier for kids. There aren't a lot of places left that exists. And, you sometimes hear about sports kids, non-sports kids, which there's a lot of carryover between the two. But academic competitions really have, I was at this robotics thing, I mentioned it feels like a month ago, but it was 2 nights ago. I was amazed at the competitiveness of it. It was fun. And the kids they wanted to win. They wanted to perform well. And they are clubs, or most of them, I guess, and that's kind of how they're treated. I almost wish we could have stuck it in the athletic department to have it run that way. I think we just want to lean in. Do they need anything else? Do they need more space? I know in the high school there's a really good look right now at, flex spaces and things like that. So just as you see it, if there's some place that we need to do a little more, could you bring that to us next year?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And then a question more for Peter. I'm still so confused by the BOCES thing. So if it's aidable, right? So we utilize BOCES on a COSER, and it's aidable now. But those are more expensive than what we were paying.
We're getting 65% back.
Well, they're not all, to buy it through BOCES is not always more expensive. We actually so often are doing cost comparisons. We actually did a couple this year where we're going direct to vendor and we'll price match.
You're looking to see which is cheaper.
Right, because the other part of it too is that when you go through BOCES, there is a fee that's associated with the purchasing through
Right.
BOCES. Quite often, we're finding that even with the fee, when we get the aid back, I think it was over 50% that we were getting back.
55%, I think.
Right, that we're getting back. That money really offsets the additional cost.
That comes in the following year's revenue.
I
Yeah.
picked it up the last, one of the other meetings with Northwell that they pushed us over to the BOCES
Yeah.
side, which was 40% higher, but then you were getting the aid, so it sounds like Northwell was getting more money, but we were
I don't
paying
know
the
if it's
same.
40% higher because we went to BOCES or because Northwell
And they were
raised
raising
their
prices,
prices.
we didn't have a choice,
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
But basically, you go to BOCES, sometimes it's more expensive, but then they have some sort of a discount with the vendor, and then we get aid on it
We get aid.
through BOCES and this thing, okay.
I think more and more vendors are starting to go in that
I go to
direction,
BOCES for sure.
just because the market's there, there's.
It's a cap,
network-
it's a much bigger audience that
Right.
in front of.
Exactly. And they help to promote certain products. They want to make sure that they're, running on Washington.
Well, like I
Maybe
said.
Mr. Pasquarella can help us out if he gets on board and
Yeah.
give us a
Buy
coupon.
a cigarette. I think there's a lot of exciting stuff in this presentation this year. None of that happens without a tremendous amount of legwork, because you're not just trying something. I mean, you guys have really gone through that, the departmentalization and a lot of focus on reading. I know UFly's been really great. There's a hope to try to keep leading into those types of things, so keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Staffing enrollment. Staffing enrollment is next.
That's me.
Good evening, everyone. Joe Maizano here. Just a reminder, the presentation that was on board docs that went public has been updated after the board's request to provide some more detail for consideration for the ICT rollout at East Plain Elementary. So what I'm presenting now will replace the current presentation on board docs. I just wanted everyone to be aware of that. All right. Historical perspective. So last year we were at 43,178, and this year 43,982. So it's a year-to-year increase of 804,000 approximately, which really only comes down to about 1.9% increase in terms of our instructional staffing budget. And primarily that 1.9 is contractual increases in salary. And the reason that it comes in so low this year is we have a pretty significant amount of retirements happening this year, and they've dramatically increased the staffing budget as seen on Tuesday's update of the budget presentation. So it's also accounted for here in this number. And while the positions are still needed to be filled, like those retirements will be replaced because they're grade level teachers or subject area teachers, but obviously starting salaries are lower than teachers that are at the end of their career, so that accounts for the decrease. All right, elementary instructional staffing projections. So these are all projections. Obviously, grades 1 through 5, obviously you have numbers rolling up. K are projections based upon current registration numbers. But these are the section implications for next year. And I want to note that there are 2 decreases in section numbers. Schwarten currently has 5 sections of kindergarten, but rolling up that will become 4. And Westis currently has 4 sections of kindergarten that will roll up to first grade and have 3 sections in the first grade cohort next year. But as you can see, as in Plainage's history, we always have very great teacher to student ratio. So the numbers are still very favorable for all grade levels in terms of our number of sections. All right, so this is secondary staffing projections. So overall, if you want to jump to the very end number, you can see there's only a 1.8 increase in FTE, which essentially is like just under 2 staff members. And there are little FTE changes throughout, and that has to deal with, scheduling and sections and looking at how many sections to run in each subject based upon student preferences and requests when putting in their schedule requests. But I'll just highlight the bigger ones that jump out. So at the middle school, there is a 1.0, so an increase of a staff member there. I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but that's the increase. We have to add an additional section of ICT in 6th grade due to the fact that you can have a maximum of 12 students and in each section, and we have over 24 at this point already without any additional students coming in, so we need that additional section. And then you will see foreign language is down 1.0, and the reason for that is that course selection has resulted in the ability to run some less sections, but still keep our numbers in a good place. So we're going down 1.0 FTE, but there's no need to excess, thankfully, because coincidentally, we received a end of year resignation for one of our foreign language teachers that's going abroad to continue their career. So we do not have to excess an individual, and we're still able to be fiscally responsible and come down 1 FTE there and still run all of our sections. And then the last driver there is the 1.0 CTE. So the reason for the additional CTE increase is we, and I know the board feels similarly, feel strongly about expanding our CTE offerings at the high school, and there are new mandates coming up in 27-28 where all students are required to have a work-based learning experience, as well as all students have to have accredited CTE by the time they graduate. And also we are offering our new financial literacy for life course, which is also a state mandate. So the increase of that CTE teacher will allow us to meet all those mandates. So it's an increase of 1.8 total. All right, these are our elementary special education projections. Of course, these are projections because our CSE meetings, we have our Director of Special Education, Mrs. Murphy, here this evening. I asked her to come here in case there are any special ed specific questions. I know most of the answers, but just in case, she's here to support me. And these are the numbers projected for next year. Like I said, CSEs are ongoing, so they're not final. They are projections, but they're, pretty close to accurate projections based upon all the information that Mrs. Murphy and her team have. So we may bounce back to this at a certain point or reference this as we move forward in case you have any questions, because really we're looking closely at the East Plains scenario. As the board knows, we added an ICT, integrated co-teaching option for our students to have for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Last year at East Plains, we had a rather large cohort, which you could see is the current 3rd grade going into 4th grade. That is a very large number of students, and they were not able to move over into our other 2 elementary buildings that have had the ICT model there. So the 3, 4, and 5 was added last year, and there's consideration for K1, 2. So I know I gave the board this particular document because it is a lot of information, and I'm just going to try to highlight the important things for you. So the board had asked of me the other day if we could really provide systematic options, all of the potential options that we could consider for ICT expansion at East Plains, along with the fiscal implications current and down the road. So that's what this information is. So current model means what we have right now. Right now we're running 3 through 5 ICT at East Plains and a resource room teacher that supports K through 5. That's currently there, and the total implications for those 4 staff members there is $520,000, right? That's the short term. Obviously, the 10-year projection is just taking an increase of those salaries. Basically, we don't have future contracts. We can't explicitly know the exact number, but approximation of what 10 years out, what it would cost to sustain that program there. So those numbers are for you, the current model. Option 1 is actually very similar to our current model. There are no staffing implications or fiscal implications, but it restructures resource room, and I'll tell you why we wanted to put that on there as a consideration. So for our students, if we remain just 3, 4, 5 at ICT, if there are students, there are clearly classified students in K and 1. As you probably, if I could go back, whoops, sorry, I apologize. If you go back and we look at East Plains right here, currently the projection is 0 students in 2nd grade for ICT. You see that on the left-hand side? So we currently, the projections are 5 kindergarten students potentially could be recommended for ICT. They're on the bubble of resource room at ICT. So there could be 5 students in kindergarten, 3 in first grade, and there are none projected to be in second grade ICT. So let's come back to here. So if there were recommendations for students in K and 1, let's say those 8 students are recommended, the parents will be afforded the opportunity to either have their students go to, John H. West or Schwarting, depending on where the numbers are lower, to have ICT service. But say the parent decides, I don't want to leave my home school. We know that's a definite consideration or a thought that a parent would have. We wanted to strengthen the support that would be there without fiscal implications for if they were to remain in resource room in K and 1 in those buildings. So what we would do is, with the current staffing, 3, 4, 5 already has ICT. In the other 2 buildings, Schwarting and John H. West, every special ed teacher is a grade level expert. So the ICT teacher in kindergarten provides resource room to the kindergartners in that grade, first grade, second grade, and so on. So we would go to that model with 3, 4, 5, where the ICT teacher that exists there would then teach the resource room, service the resource room students in 3, 4, and 5. But that leaves the additional resource room teacher to have to service, K, 1, and 2 potential resource room students. And so we could increase the amount of resource room that the students are receiving potentially. We could do 80 minutes where there's 1 push-in and 1 pull-out resource room. So if those parents really didn't want to leave their home school but were concerned that they weren't getting the level of service to go at ICT, they could get more resource room services with the current staff that's in the building. So it's really a restructuring of resource room K1-2 is option 2, but no financial implications. Now, option 3 actually is a slow roll, or we're calling it our systematic rollout. We would add kindergarten ICT next year for the potential of those 5 students that are projected. But believe it or not, there would be no staffing implications for next year, because what we would do is we would take the resource room teacher that exists in East Plain, make them the kindergarten ICT teacher, and then any students that are in first and second grade that receive resource room can be serviced by other resource rooms. I think the board knows this already, but in special education, you could service students in both resource room and special class in a 3-year chronological, range. So you could have students in multiple grades in a resource room. So we could run ICT in K, 3, 4, 5, and not 1, 2 for year 1, meaning next year there'd be no financial, fiscal implications, and still service the resource room students in 1 and 2. But there is obviously still the consideration that if any students are recommended in 1 and 2, ICT doesn't exist there, they would be offered the opportunity to go to one of the other buildings potentially, because the numbers are rather low in those grades. Then if you look at the implications for that rollout, so yes, there's no implications in 26, 27, but in 27, 28, you would have 1 new hire, and in 28, 29, you'd have another hire, ultimately coming to a grand total in the next couple of years to run ICT at East Plain would be about $780,000. So this is estimated for about $130 per staff member, and that's a staff member with their master's and all of their benefits rolled in. That's how we come up with the 130, and that's kind of been our standard of when we want to place a body for consideration on any of our presentations. So 780 at a 10-year projection rollout, it would cost about $1 million to maintain ICT at East Plain. And then option 3 is full implementation. That's going straight all in on having ICT on all the grades that have numbers. So next year in 26, 27, we would add ICT to KN1 where that 5 and that 3 exist on this slide. We'd add it in K1, not 2, because there's a 0 there currently. And the implications for year one, 26, 27 would only be one student because remember, we would repurpose the resource room teacher for the other ICT class. So a new hire would go in K, let's say, and then the resource room teacher would become the first grade ICT teacher. So in 26, 27, a one hire implicate. So it's not until option 3 that you have a fiscal implication for next year, one staff member. But then in 27, 28, you would have to hire the second one. So both option 2 and 3, systematic rollout and full implementation, do require 2 hires, but they roll out at different times, right? One, it has, for option 2, you're adding them in 27, 28, and 28, 29. And in option 3, you're adding them, you're adding one in 26, 27 and one in 27, 28. A lot of information.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Are we almost at questions or? I want to forget everything.
So.
Like I have a lot of thoughts floating around.
Did you jot down something? I think the next slide's kind of important.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, and then, yes, this is basically the end, if you want to know. So, I was asked for local comparisons from the board. So this is important information. So these are our neighboring districts. We tend to compare to most of them. I mean, obviously, you know, Seaford, Bethpage, and Wanto are of similar size. Farmingdale, Massapequa, a bit larger. So in Massapequa, they run ICT in 2 of their 6 buildings, about 33%. In Seaford, they only have 2 elementary buildings, so clearly they have to run it in 1 of them, so that's 50%. Bethpage and Wanto, they run in 1 of 3 of their elementary buildings, 33%. And then Farmingdale, it's a unique model. It's really 1 of their 4 buildings. What they do is that when an incoming kindergarten projections are made, they look at which elementary building the majority of kids in that cohort are from, and they create ICT in the kindergarten in that building, and it rolls up from there. So they may have kindergarten ICT at Northside and second grade ICT in Salzman in Farmingdale. So it's a bit of a different model. So overall, if you look at the comparisons, Plain Edge is already, should make everyone happy, running the richest model in the area at 66% of our elementary buildings. Yeah, we don't need to go to this yet because this is kind of straightforward because I think this is the meat and potatoes of what you guys want to look at. Yes.
All right, so on the slide ICT for the other comparable school districts.
Yes.
Are they all full day also, or are they like some?
So that.
Because that also changes the calculation, I would say.
So I thought about that today, actually. I did not ask
Let's just
that
assume they are.
yet. So do you know?
Okay.
Everyone is full day?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
All right, we're still, I mean, either way, we're still ahead. I just want to look better, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get there.
No, if she tells me that it's yes, then the answer is yes. So you are comparing apples and apples,
Right.
but we still have a strong model, obviously. 2 out of 3 elementary buildings is obviously, significantly,
I'd argue 2.5.
2.5 out of 3.
2.5.
Oh, 2.5, yes. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so back to this. Now, Mrs. Murphy, do you feel like I articulated the options? Well, jump in if you feel like I didn't. Do you think that how they roll out, I explained, but would you like to add any sentiments? Here's your opportunity.
I know. I think that, at this point, we started this. So it is hard to then stop that, right? It's there for 3rd, 4th, and 5th right now. I can tell you, and Mr. Buccarelli probably can as well, that the students are meeting with really great success now that they are receiving integrated co-teaching versus what was happening before. It's difficult always to project what our cohorts are going to look like from one year to the next. And, even just from my presentation to Joe's presentation, the number of students that we project going into kindergarten using, integrated co-teaching has risen. I don't expect that number ever to go down. I only expect that number always to go up. And just thinking as far as long-term goes, you're looking at 5 students at East Plain in one grade level that need integrated co-teaching. It's only going to gain steam as we move up, right? That number isn't going to go down. So in my opinion, and also thinking about being fiscally responsible, I think you add kindergarten integrated co-teaching, knowing we can service those first and second graders. And then next year when we come back, we look at what that looks like for the incoming cohort of kindergartners, and you look at what's happening for, you know, the years moving up. Simply just because pushing those 5 students out of East Plain for kindergarten for integrated co-teaching most likely means they're never coming back. But we're still then going to have students that are in your gen ed kindergarten class that will probably end up needing integrated co-teaching in first or second or third grade. So, you know, again, that means that we're either continuing to push students out or we're keeping them. And that's kind of where you are right now. You know, we started it and now you kind of have to make a decision about whether you're continuing it or not.
So one thing to also add is that every year this is based upon numbers, right? So these are the scenarios currently, but that 0, will it remain? We don't have a crystal ball. Will it roll up very low numbers and you could repurpose an individual? It doesn't, you know, these are the projections if it runs in every grade, or, you know, there's options 2 and 3 eventually. But there could be years where you don't run it, and that happens, you know, in some districts where it doesn't run in a certain grade, and then you repurpose that person to a grade where it has to run. So it is somewhat fluid, but I feel that these are a lot of options to consider, and very, you know, explicit terms for each one, and I'm glad to explain it more, you know, either now or privately, you know, to any of the board members if it doesn't, you know, make complete sense.
So I want to talk about a few things that you went through. Talk about declining enrollment, and so what I was doing, I was checking the math on every, you know, at every grade, or on average, how many students? It's about 200, it looks like.
Going back to
Just like, you know, each grade, we have a total of 200 students.
yes, approximately.
So what's kind of weird is they always talk about declining enrollment, but I feel like when I graduated Plainage, there was about 200 kids in the class.
I think
So it's like it kind of goes up.
So
and
a
down.
couple of years ago, when I was the principal of West, I had near 450 students,
Right.
and Schwarting decreased for a couple of years, and you know I had about 30, 40 more students in Schwarting. Now you could clearly see that it's flip-flopped again, and
Yeah.
Schwarting has 40 more students.
Yeah.
So it you know has a little bit of, but it stays relatively consistent
That's what
across
I
the
mean.
district.
And so because of that, I start thinking about headcount in general, right? And the last thing I ever want to do is access a teacher. So, you know, I start thinking about like, how do we protect, because you got to think about the human aspect. These are people with lives, they have families, they have bills to pay. Last thing you want to do is like, you know, access a teacher. It's just a terrible situation all around. So with that being said, I don't know if this has ever been considered or not, but is it always, or should it be contemplated that we're more conservative in terms of hiring? And if we need to, we overload the teacher, meaning that obviously they get paid for the extra overage.
You mean an overage? At the
Overage? I've heard the term before, but.
So overages happen at the secondary level,
Okay.
where if they teach an additional period. At the elementary, the teachers only have one prep and their lunch. That's their only time off throughout the day. You know, there's more team meetings, department meetings built into secondary teachers' schedules. So overages can only occur at the secondary level.
Do we do that, or is that how
We
we
do it
model
on
things
occasion,
for
on it.
staffing?
We don't. We try not to, but yes, at times if you need a 0.2 or a 0.1,
Right.
it's hard to find an individual that's willing to work only that little piece. So we would, you know, use an overage in that particular, you know, scenario.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I forget what it was. Maybe it was a few years back. There was a teacher that got accessed, you know, or they were talking about accessing a teacher, I think. I just don't think it's like a great scenario.
Yeah, we talk about this sometime at Central because you've heard of some districts that have had to do some major layoffs.
Well,
But they seem to be for some very specific reasons most of the time from, what I hear or the research or the story that's in Newsday or whatever. But the reality is like our numbers similar to what you said when you went to high school to now, like we seem to hover around the same number. You may have little dips here and there, but then you have an increase somewhere else, or it's just in another building and another, building in Plain Edge. We haven't seen any trends that make us overly concerned about any excessing anytime soon.
I don't see special education being excess. And
I wasn't
yeah, so
referring just
like
to
as
special
far as those
education.
go, yeah. I mean, special education wise, because we can look at those CPSE numbers, from my presentation, so we kind of have an idea of what's coming at least for the next 2-3 years.
Right.
So I don't, and again, those numbers typically don't go down, they only go up. So I don't see us, at least for the next 3 years, being smaller.
On a fiscally responsible note, for next year, obviously current is current. Option one nor option two has fiscal implications for next year. If we want to look at it that way. So that's just food for thought.
So also, I think when you were what was it, the head count slide, I think?
Head count?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah, that one. So it's funny enough, I jotted down the idea of maybe the West students from kindergarten first should actually go to East Plain.
So I'll let you finish your thought.
And the teachers would, I guess, maybe move with it. But I always know there's like concerns about moving teachers from building to building, and there's implications to that as well.
There are a lot of
But at the same
implications,
time,
obviously, with switching, but like, then does it go back? Because obviously at Schwarting and West, the numbers have been rather consistent to need. So yes, I know you're specifically talking about the numbers right now. If you look at the projection numbers, East Plain has, the most for kindergarten.
More at the younger ages. So does the Farmingdale model make sense in that sense? Like, or is that bad?
So my understanding, and I don't want to quote anyone, my understanding is that, for lack of a better term, there's a lot of discussions that have to go into the annual decisions for that model because of the fact that it's not as consistent in one place. So there's a lot more.
I don't think we'd have enough classrooms
It's-
to house it in one building.
Well, is that what you're saying?
No, not the whole thing, just those 2 grades.
I mean, you
Like you would start.
Farmingdale model.
but we would end up,
No, they're by grade, right? You were saying, then they move up.
They start in a building for kindergarten and they roll up. But it may be that, depending on the grade and the need, it may be in a different building. And also that so they could potentially, if it's in that one building, they could have 2 sections in that building.
Right, that makes sense.
For that particular grade.
But so, you building A, B, and C, you'll have different grades of ICT in each building.
Yes,
They stay consistent. Once you start kindergarten.
Once you start there, you roll up within that building, correct?
So you were saying something about, oh, sorry, Joe.
You still have the issue, though. You still have the issue with that type of model where there are going to be kids who go into ICT who are struggling or however exactly, where CPSE says, oh, you know what, this child should go. And now you're still
Getting ripped out of the building.
you might be jumping over to elementary school. Farmingdale's huge. So you might be going from the northern school all the way to like the one on 110. And it just, sounds like a nightmare.
There are busing implications potentially,
Well, also, I'm trying to remember back when we talked about, and I think this was the point you made, that let's say you're a kid that gets classified in 2nd grade, and you should go to ICT. Obviously, parents have the decision to go less restrictive. I know some have opted for resource room. But like, it's the emotional aspect, right? You've been there for kindergarten, 1st, 2nd. Now you're being told to have to go to this, you have to go to this building. Parents in a difficult, environment to make a decision. I think that's why, again, like we did the 3 to 5 East Plain, that was the original thought process behind that, is to take into account what the impact is going to be to an older child, right? If you're kindergarten, you're starting off in the school, I don't know if there's as much of an impact, because you might know that building already, you know. But if you're 3 years in and now you're like, hey, you're going from East Plain to West or Schwarting, you know, that was the thought process I recall behind it. And why we didn't just do 3rd and 5th grade last year. We did 3 through 5, because we're like, okay, this is the model I think that we should do. So, all right. You know, and I'm just, again, things are turning as I kind of
Look at
suss out
everything.
what I'm looking at.
You have the presentation now.
I
It'll be
have,
live with the new version. Yes.
I think I have I don't know if it's a comment or question. Let's see
Yeah,
at
go
the
for
end. You let me know what it was. I think for me, looking at this and kind of where I am now versus first looking at it. So first of all, I want to say thank you to the special ed department for having the courage or feeling comfortable enough to just be like, this is what we know what you want to do. I mean, and thank you, because we should be told what you want. It's okay to say I want something, and then we're going to make the best decision.
We're just not shy at
I think I have come to terms with, if we had ICT essentially throughout East Plain, with the exception of the grade that currently is 0, sort of believing that's going to hold, that you are overpaying a bit. And if you look at it financially, you could make a very valid argument that is not in any way not caring about those children, that we want to make sure that we aren't in a situation in 5 years where we're accessing a teacher, or we're in tough financial places, or there's things we can't do that we really need to do for other students because we overspent there. But I also think if you're going to overspend as a district, this is a place to do it. That we could drive around and we could find places where maybe that shouldn't have been done, maybe that shouldn't have been hired, maybe that shouldn't have been spent. But if you could just sort of admit, yeah, there's cheaper ways to do it, but this was a little bit better for the kids. And I think, to the point from last month, that there are some sort of hidden benefits for the other kids in that classroom. My kids have ended up in ICT classrooms several times, and then you get some extra help, even though you're not the child that's classified. I mean, there's 2 adults in the room. So for me, kind of where I am at the moment, I think we can absorb it with clear eyes that there's a cheaper way to do it as well, and maybe that's just okay.
No, I mean, I have to agree with you, looking at the options, and again, thank you for pulling this together, particularly quick turnarounds. You know, the difference between option 2 and option 3, so-called full implementation, is 1 teacher and is 1 grade. And if we're going to spend money, I agree, this is a place to overspend, and we're going to leave 1 grade out. You know, we're going to have ICT in the entire school, obviously with the exception of the grade 0, but at the leaving 1 grade out just doesn't make sense to me. You know, where everyone has it except the 1 grade. So I mean,
we just want to cost out every possible option if the sentiment was that we could do a little bit of it each year. So we just wanted to, and I can't take credit for that. Bridget had that option. Yeah.
The conversation Mrs. Murphy and I had last year when this was originally presented to us was, this is not the traditional way you phase in a program. You know, if you open a new school anywhere, you phase in K, 1, 2, and you sort of normalize the cost and amortize it, and spread it out over 5, 6, 7 years as you phase the program in. We're not doing this the traditional way. So we have to look at it, I think, maybe a more non-traditional manner. And yeah, I agree with Ms. Garcia. If we're going to overspend, I'd rather overspend here, special education, our most vulnerable students.
If I might, I think, yes, it's the untraditional way, and we all recognize that last year, but it also has given us the opportunity to really evaluate how we do this, right? So, I think we had that conversation last year, like, well, what are we going to do next year? Is it going to be a flat rollout K1, 2? And we said, well, we need to come back and look at the numbers. And the numbers speak very clearly this year. So, it's really almost helpful in that sense. Like, the 2nd grade is 0, so I don't need it there. That's very clear. The kindergarten is 5. That's a clear number right there. And that's where the discussions are important, right? Talking about what we're gonna do moving forward is important, to make sure we're doing the right thing for everybody, and also being mindful of money, because that is very important.
If I could touch on that, the 3.76% increase we talked about on Tuesday, if I'm correct, that includes the additional staff member.
It does, it does.
And last year.
Yes.
It already does,
That
yes.
includes- that
I put it in
number-
case.
I didn't miss it.
That number includes the additional staff member, and last year, when we rolled out across 3 to 5, we saw 3.75% for, last year when we rolled in 3 additional special education teachers. And let me be clear too, I know we're saying overspending. I don't think this is overspending. I think this is investing in our students and supporting our most vulnerable population. But, I think this is something that we can, obviously continue to evaluate as we do with every decision we make every year. And again, thank you for pulling us together and for coming. And I know we pulled you from, I'm sure, a very exciting evening to come and discuss.
I love talking about this all the time, so I'll
Her level of excitement when I called her was actually impressive.
Can I ask a quick question? So when we were in agenda prep and Mr. Ricci was talking, he said it takes like 3 years for a teacher to ramp up. So if we have a 0 in second grade, you kind of want that special education teacher to be in that grade for 3 years, I think. Am I saying that right?
Typical practice is that it takes, not that it takes them to ramp up, but that in order for them to master the content of a grade level, that typically it takes approximately 3 years for them to master the content of a grade level. So if a teacher shifts to a new grade level, there's a big learning curve that comes along with that in time.
So then we just have to be cognizant. Oh, sorry, you were going to say something.
We planned for that when we placed our special education teachers.
Okay.
So, a lot of thought went into speaking with Mr. Cocorelli, speaking to the people. The person who is currently our 3rd grade special education teacher is the previous resource room teacher. So she's been familiar with the course content across all of those 6 grades, because we knew we might need to shift things. So we really tried very hard, especially even when we were interviewing, we had to go out and fill some new positions. We worked very hard to find people that had a breadth of experience in multiple grades. We knew we needed people with strong reading backgrounds. So we really planned, and one of the benefits is when you put up a special education elementary position, you get like 3,000 applicants. We can be very selective about who it is that we choose for those positions. So we really planned for it, knowing that we were going to need to be flexible moving ahead, and that's, sometimes things aren't linear. Sometimes we have to think a little bit outside the box. So we try and do that as much as we can and plan for it moving ahead. So that's my answer to that question.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that's why the special ed department's one of the best.
Thank you very much. I think so, for sure.
I also like thinking outside the box. Obviously, this board likes to do that as well,
Yes.
so that's.
And
maybe that's
sometimes
why
we have to
get
be
along.
creative, and that's, when Joe said, let's think about, think outside the box, get creative about different ways that we can do this and meet student need.
This is also, I'm sorry,
I know there's a hole, I apologize.
this is also the place to do that. This is where we discussed this. So I also want to say, Joe, you've literally lived this. I think you're the only person up here who's lived the changing of the buildings and all that.
Yeah.
Certainly that's a unique perspective. We all bring different perspectives. And this is where those discussions should happen. I want to say, just because people are, we're asking questions, that's the point.
Right.
So that we come to the best decision we can as a cohesive group. So just because I ask a question, Joe asks a question, doesn't mean you even have formed an opinion. I hope we haven't formed opinions. That's why we're here. So, well, fair enough. But that's kind of the whole point. So I know sometimes after, I get the Facebook messages and the phone calls, why won't you do it? And I would just say, this is where we're going to decide it, not somewhere else.
I told a parent today, I would much rather have somebody call me and ask me a million questions and advocate for their child than somebody who didn't want to know or didn't want to understand how they make their decisions better. Yes, does it take sometimes more time? 100%. But does it also mean that people are more educated about what it is we're doing? Yes, also. So I would rather have everybody have a really good understanding of what we're thinking and what we're trying and what we're doing than say, I'm not gonna be here because I don't want to answer your question. You know, that's silly. It's important to be incredibly transparent about where we see things going, what we're planning for, you know, where we want to go. So that's my focus.
Mr. Mazzano, question. So for option 3, right, we have 2 years, 2 years into the future.
Yes.
We have a full K through 5 ICT
Yes.
program yet.
Yep.
We're
Both
now at
2 and
0.
3 bring you to full implementation. It's just in 2 rolls it out a little bit slower.
But we're looking at a 0 now, I guess, for the upcoming year in second grade. So what?
Yeah, we're not recommending an ICT teacher at that grade. So that may roll up and that may have implications if it remains a 0, and then we could, that's why I said it's somewhat fluid, but next year it would, a full implementation immediately would result in ICT in K1, 3, 4, 5, because it's not necessary in 2 next year.
Okay.
And that's why that person would be hired a year out, because as the numbers roll up.
You want to see that you need some.
You want to see that you need, yeah, we always make decisions based upon whether or not we need it, of course.
Okay. And then the difference, option 2, option 3, the bottom line there.
The bottom line is the same, it just one gets you there faster than the other, yeah. One gets full implementation, option 3, by 27, 28, and option 2 gets you there by 28, 29.
And your first graders will be resource room?
So.
First graders for option
Option
2
Oh, for
would get
option
resources.
2, they would get resource room.
Or move to another?
Or move, yeah, they have that option. And just to kind of show you overall implications across, so so obviously there's a contingency teacher in both elementary and secondary. You just never know, you know, you pierce the cap on a section or whatever the case may be, you need a contingency each. And I put a contingency teaching assistant because you never, once again, know if you'll need an extra TA somewhere. So there's 2 contingency TAs and 2 contingency classroom teachers. But definitively, we have to add the additional 1212 at Schwarting. It's, you know, the topic being discussed pretty much during this presentation is the additional special ed teacher at East Plain. That would be the one body we'd need to go with option 3. And then, where else? Oh, and then the additional, 6th grade ICT teacher in special ed, and then the CTE teacher at the high school. So in total, that reads 6 bodies. But remember, we're going down 1 in foreign language, so that brings you to 5, and then 2 of those are contingency. So it's really just a 3-person implication across all 3 across all 5 buildings. And really only 2 teaching assistants that are needed immediately, and the other 2 are contingency.
This is a net of retirements, right? The planned retirements? Or
This is, yes, the retirements, we don't put, the retirements are flat because they're grade level teachers or specific contents that need to be, we can't reduce FTE based upon those retirements because all those positions.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
This is just above and beyond.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I was trying.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
I was thinking if they're gross or net numbers. That's what I was trying to figure out. Okay.
So
And I think we did this part, but continue.
Yeah. So that third position down under elementary was.
Yeah.
So that was the first grade teacher? The
Third one in elementary, that would be the additional, if we went with option 3, which rolls out ICT and K and 1, we only need 1 staff member because the resource room teacher that already exists in East Plain becomes the first grade teacher. And then we don't need any 1 and 2. So there's really only a 1 staff member implication. If you go back to option 3, there's only 1 staff member implication, 1 hire for 26, 27. And it still allows us to put ICT in K and 1 next year.
And then with option 2 though, it's, which one of those positions is?
So option 2 has no hire because what we would do is we would repurpose the resource room teacher to be kindergarten ICT next year and there's a 0 in second grade, and then the first grade kids would have to remain in resource room or go to another building. That would be an option too. But in resource room, we would service them in, multi-grade resource rooms, but that's possible and it's a very common practice.
It leaves the first graders with the least amount of support.
All right, everybody good?
So what, do we pick?
We're not choosing now.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, no, that was really informative.
My pleasure.
Pride and Plan Edge, opportunity for board members to present on attendance, participation at school and or community events. Oh, you're not gonna say it?
That's why I left it.
Being at the girls' championship game, it was very exciting. It's great to see how excited they were. And the community is really rallying around them. It's been excellent. Hopefully it goes well on Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the support.
I know it was just like one day. I'm assuming no one else has anything else. All right, good. This meeting went longer than I thought it would.
Conversations up.
Yeah. Opportunity for public comment. We ask that all comments be directed to the board of ed president. We kindly ask that you try to limit yourself to 2 minutes. And please use the microphone and state your name.
Hi, Jeff.
Oh, boy.
I made it. Hi, guys. My name's Tracy Dana. I'm a lifelong Plain Edge resident. I have 2 kids at Shorting Elementary School. They are 3rd generation Plain Edge students. I want to start off by thanking you guys. It's been wonderful to have a board that has young kids in the school. All of these positive changes, they've been really excellent to see, and I really appreciate all of the effort that you guys and all the time that you dedicate to our kids. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm here, obviously, I've spoken to you guys individually. I wanted to address it now because it came up again last month, and with you guys doing the capital funding, the playground facilities at Shorting Elementary School. I know last month, I think the PTA, there was a couple of representatives here in order to discuss the issues that we're having with the playground facility, and that it was brought up that there was a parent that foiled the records in order to obtain all of the records for the 3 elementary schools and the playgrounds at those 3 elementary schools. I'm that parent, so I thought it appropriate for me to address a couple things that came up. The first one was obviously the architectural drawings for Shorting Elementary School that were developed in September of 2024. I think at that meeting, it was mentioned that perhaps they were mislabeled, and that was ultimately the reason why that playground was built at John H. West, and why it was determined that by May of 2025, that was going to be put into the proposition budget. I can assure you, based on the FOIA records that I received, that was not a mislabeling, and I know that because I received all of the corresponding proposals and estimates and invoices, all of which were explicitly labeled for Shorting Elementary School. So I think that the records that I have established that as of September of 2024, Shorting was getting a new playground, and that the need for the new playground was acknowledged. But somehow between September of 2024 to May of 2025, it was ultimately determined that the playground was not going to be built. The absence of records in response to the FOIL indicates that, it's difficult for me to understand why that determination was made, or how or who made that determination, because there are no records indicating it. Someone had mentioned that there was an inspection that was done between that time where the playground was deemed safe. I was told the same thing by the director of facilities when I had initially inquired, and so in my FOIL demand, I sought the inspection report, as well as any records or emails or correspondence regarding that inspection as far as what those findings were, who was present. There are no records of any inspection for the playground equipment. There was an inspection the year prior with regards to the surface of the playground, but as far as I'm concerned, there being no inspection reports, there was no inspection. So I'm not here to say that John H. West stole Shorting's playground, but what I am here to say is that, Shorting and the Proposition 2, and my inquiry really started because I was surprised in Proposition 2 of last year on the capital budget, it was $550,000 allocated to John H. West for a brand new playground facility, as well as $420,000 that was allocated to Plain Edge Middle School for a brand new playground to accommodate the pre-K students who are starting their very first year at the middle school, while Shorting has homed the pre-K students for over 4 years now, and our students have had a field of grass to play on. So I thought that the district found it necessary to make sure that the John H. West zone pre-K kids had a brand new playground facility, while Shorting parents did not, and for 4 years had not. Now, I know what you're going to say, and I know that we're going to say that, that playground was built as well to accommodate other children. Okay.
So, I'd
No,
like to
that's fine,
finish
you
a bit
can.
more. I don't wanna.
Okay, so I'll finish and then we can, so, I mean,
It's all right.
the optics of it is most certainly that we've been asking for 4.5 years to have a playground facility for our pre-K kids and haven't gotten one, and then a brand new one is built for the first year. We did get 2 pieces of equipment that, I honestly felt more was a slap in the face. They could accommodate less than a handful of children at a time, so now our children are lining up to spin around on the spinny things for 4 kids at a time. So I'm not really here to have this board because these determinations were not made by this board. I'm not here to you guys justify something that I don't really think is justifiable. I just think that now it needs to be rectified, and that is really what I'm doing here. And as far as, now we've waited patiently and we want the new playground equipment for Shorting Elementary School. There's also issues with our blacktop that, it needs to be resurfaced. We have a fence, we're adjacent to a commercial parking lot with a huge grocery store, the glass and the garbage comes in. We need lime trees on those fences. So these are all things, we're the only school in the district that doesn't have a shed where the PTA can sell, snacks and drinks out of in order to raise money. These are things that Shorting is missing, and do I really at 9:30 at night want to come to do it? But I don't know how else we have to do it.
So,
and
I'll address some of that stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some of the things that you're asking for, I would never even thought, like a shed. Not something that was like ever on my radar. That's the purpose of the capital improvement committee. With respect to whatever happened with labels and stuff, that's just what I was informed in terms of the drawings being mislabeled. I can tell you for a fact, none of the 7 of us had at any point, you can foil all day, ever said you need to move the playground from Shorting to West.
Yeah, I know.
That did not happen.
I know that, Joe.
With respect to inspection reports and things like that, I don't know enough about it. I guess, if there's stuff out there, I guess we could give it. Maybe there was a miscommunication in the email. Sometimes things are misunderstood in the email. I don't know, because I'm not responding to your emails. There's people who are looking at that, and it's sometimes up to how they read the email. With respect to the playground at the middle school, there's a little bit more history than just like, oh, I think West kids are going to the middle school, the West pre-K kids are going to the middle school, and that's why it ended up there. The full story is, because you have to wind back a little bit further, is that East Plain had a lot of pre-K sections there. And because they decided to put a lot of sections there, they lost their art and music rooms. So what we're trying to do is treat every school the same. What the board had directed, central administration to do is to find a way to get those kids out of East Plain to somewhere else so that those kids can have their art and music rooms, just like West and just like Shorting. So when they did that, they identified the space at the middle school, and the idea was, we're not going to send kids to middle school without a playground. It has nothing to do with what you're saying. Now, in terms of what your ask is, we already have selected a playground. So we're given 3 choices. You're probably not going to like it.
No, we're not. 'Cause
I'm going to tell you what
we're getting.
I'm going to tell you what I've basically directed, and I think we Mike said too. Actually, no, sorry. It was Mike Ponicello, Joe Garcia, myself. Because again, I'm gonna just tell you transparently, after Dr. Singh resigned, we had a meeting talking about some of the capital improvement projects. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff, okay? That was one of them. So we tasked them with, or maybe it was after me, I don't know, actually, whatever. But we did talk about capital improvements. I don't know if it was that meeting or maybe a subsequent one. But we asked, give us options for a playground. There was a $50,000 option, a $100,000 option, and $150,000 option. And two of the three of us went with 100, or someone went to 150. Between the three of us, we decided which one to pick. We decided to go with the middle one, which I think is a nice playground. And it's equivalent to what you would have at West or the other ones.
It's not equivalent because West had a $550,000 brand new playground built this year, and the pre-K kids had a $425,000 built this year. So how would $100,000 be equivalent to a $900,000?
I was talking about, so let me clarify, number of pieces of equipment.
Utility of the equipment, not the dollar amount.
Not the dollars.
Because it's not replacing what's there, but it gives a representative amount of playground equipment for the younger children.
Okay.
It is.
And does it accommodate the K through 3 that cannot play on the
It is
playground?
representative. It solves the need
for additional space.
Where we started or where we are right now on that playground. It was missing stuff, and the two pieces of equipment that got put there just weren't the right things.
Yeah.
And foils and all that, it all happened by face-to-face and phone because nobody knows how we got here. So in trying to unpack it, what sort of the little committee we formed, because you can only have up to 3.
Well, is
Came
there
up with
a
trying to
parent
make a
committee?
decision.
Because are there parents from Shorting who are actually?
There will be on the capital.
Right now, it's just 3 board members, and we're trying to solve your ask.
Right.
And what you're dealing with is what is always true in education. While your kids are little, you want that problem fixed. I do too, right? I mean, I think that's probably a lot of what motivated us all to do this crazy thing. So there's kind of 2 ways to look at it. Do you take a longer view, put it in a committee that's just being formed, and in 2 or 3 years get to the solution? Those kids will be out of the school or close to it.
Yeah, well, my kids are going to be out of pre-K. No one did it for my kids. I'm doing it for the next kids.
So what we sat down and tried to figure out was what would solve the hole. The hole is little kids at Schwarting do not have a representative amount of equipment compared to the other places, the other locations. So we've come up with a solution that gets where I would be comfortable as a parent, that this is representative, that this is similar. Does that mean one day in the future, new playgrounds have to be built? You're never going to get to the point where you can build 3 playgrounds at the same point because of the cost of that. These things I still can't figure out how they're so expensive. It's insane. So.
I mean, yes, but they just built 3 at West.
1 at West.
Well, they built the 3 separate.
It's one system though.
Right.
Which replaced the existing system.
The playground at West also, I think you gotta remember, we were at a meeting, and it was actually at a board meeting where we said, they just did the field at West, we can't have this old equipment there.
I have some
decision by the board.
context to that actually, because I was the West principal for the past 6 years. My first year's principal, which is going back 7 years ago, I asked Dr. Selena, I'm like, I need a new playground. I'm like, half of this is outdated. We have one new piece that Mrs. Muscarella. So 7 years ago, I brought that to Dr. Selena's attention. And then when the field was redone, I said, wow, now you really see the contrast here. I really need a new playground at West. So I approached him, and that's when the renderings came out. I think I'm the only one at this table that was actually at the meeting. So I was with there, Mr. Cocorelli, Mrs. Thurl, and we had the renderings in front of us. And Mrs. Thurl and I had the same exact playground. And she goes, wait, I'm getting a new playground? And I said, I think that's my playground. And then we realized that we both had the same rendering, both how that happened, that Schwarting and West had their labels on the same rendering. I have no idea, but that was definitely my request as principal, and it ultimately came to fruition. But that was really through my request 7 years ago. That was then supported by the field being
And
paid for.
perhaps this does go because along with my FOIL, I did seek records with respect to any protocols or any management that's in place in order to ensure equitable distribution of the capital funds amongst the 3 elementary schools. In response to that, I didn't really get any records as far as whether or not that's actually monitored just to ensure that all 3 elementary schools are funded and those capital improvements are evenly distributed amongst the 3 schools. But perhaps 7 years ago when they did that and they don't have any records or documentation, they thought, well, if we're giving West one, we have to give Short.
Yeah, I don't know the pieces in between there. I was just going to explain to you how the West playground came to fruition, because I was intimately involved in that process. I wasn't sitting up here at the dais, but I just wanted to give you my insight into how West got the new playground. Whether there were other conversations when I was not in central office regarding other buildings getting one as well, I don't really know. All I really know was about the West situation, and since, you know.
I also don't think we look for equitable distribution of funds when we're looking at the playgrounds. We're not replacing pieces that don't need to be replaced.
Of course,
So,
no, not just the playgrounds, I mean
More of an
across the
equitable
board.
distribution of equipment, and our architect is sitting here, he might have had more involvement in this than any of us. I don't know if you have
There's
any
also a
comment.
little bit of a hole in the process where, you know, the 5-year building study is the regularly occupied spaces. There's a lot of district property that isn't part of that. And I actually spoke to I spoke to you, I think, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
That there should be some sort of a process, and it's probably an internal process, I don't want to break the vendor, sorry, to do that, to evaluate the facilities that don't go through a 5-year
Oh, yes,
plan.
that was a thing, yeah.
You know, and in the state law, it talks about how that doesn't include dugouts but that stuff's expensive too. Brian Moore Center is not inspected as part of this. But do we have a system in place to make sure that roof is in good shape, or is that nearing? Because we're gonna get stuck with some bills at some point.
Well, that's
Can I just ask you something? I guess what's the ask? Like if it's not an
Right,
additional
so,
piece of
yeah,
equipment,
so
what's
I
the ask? And
mean,
then
we
can
need.
at least consider
We
that.
need yes, so we need multiple improvement on the outdoor facilities, not only the playground, we need the tree line fence, we need the resurfacing of the blacktop, we want a shed. So the ask would be an equivalent amount of $500,000 in the proposition budget for Schwarting's playground and outdoor facility repairs. There, in every proposition, it's kept very general as to, you know, how those funds can be allocated, and then let Schwarting parents, I mean, this is what's all discussed at the PTA meetings. We need this, we need that. But we, and you know, it's on Schwarting too, that we don't have direct contact with you guys. That's what we need.
You have my cell phone?
Well, yes, but that short, you know, I said to Joe, do I need to get hundreds of signatures? Like what
No,
do
I
I
mean,
need to do to
look,
get
I
it
think,
to the
I
budget?
think, Tracy, what I'll say is this. We're trying to solve the problem today, just like Joe said, right? Or you can wait for the capital improvement committee to come about, and we do it then. What are you asking for? Which one?
$500,000.
So then that'll be part of the capital improvement
I
committee.
mean, you guys on the last one, you do get estimates, you get bids. I don't really have.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if you don't-
But that
if
would
you're saying-
be, that we need those improvements to our outside facilities. And then down the line, we need lights.
I'm not-
Because, I mean, Plain Edge is all about safety, and you leave Shorting at 5 o'clock, you can't see 5 feet in front of
The
you.
other thing is like, I understand what you're saying about lights. Neighbors complain about lights. You could foil it.
Yeah.
We got an email from East Plain about the light over there.
But it would ultimately be Plain Edge that's liable if it's pitch black when it's 5 o'clock and you're walking out of Shorting Elementary School.
I think I would say my concern is this. We're talking about a whole bunch of stuff that people have opinions on. And that's the purpose of the capital improvement committee. The 7 of us are just trying to do the best job to address your concern, which I thought was you need an additional piece of equipment. And we were ready to expend money to get that to you this year.
Yes, so.
But if you're saying I need
It's also the
500.
resurfacing.
Yeah, but I mean, then
It's
that's a
also
cap,
the tree.
then we'll just wait.
That
until the
stuff's gonna be
committee's
further,
formed.
that stuff's gonna be further down the line.
Yeah,
Facilities was asked to take a look at the blacktop post winter. You know, those things, every school has multi-million-dollar needs, like, you know, that are safety things. That stuff's gonna get addressed in this proposition, the immediate needs stuff. The playground's not really part of the proposition, it's gonna come from elsewhere, more than likely. And then this stuff, because you have great you know, it sounds like ideas that are representative of other people, so do other people. Plaintiffs for too long has been the loudest voice, or the person who's friends with the board got what they wanted.
Right.
And it now has to go through a committee. So I know it feels like I want this now and we have to get it, but that's how we got in a position where you could go through 500,000 emails and nobody knows what happened with a playground because it just was on a person's desk. And going forward, we have to get away from, because I'm friends with this person, they got what they wanted, because I'm friends with that person, their kid got where they wanted. And it has to be systematic. And you can't be in the middle of building those systems, Tracy, and also say, but I want mine.
Yeah, and
So I get that,
don't
but
wanna-
this is how it's been, and now.
And we're
So we're trying to
here,
What I'm
here we
saying
are
is
6 months later,
rectified.
building the systems to fix this, is solving the immediate needs so that the kids have, you know, an equitable use of playground equipment, because that is important and kids should be allowed to play. But at the same time, you can't fix the problem and build the systems and then break your own system to say, okay, we'll just give you what you want because you know, you might show up with hundreds.
Right, so I mean,
let's
I'm
use
just
an
saying,
example.
we're
Look at
starting with the
this
playground. I don't plan on coming
Yeah, but look-
here
look-
every, you know, month that you guys have these to express. And if there is a better avenue to actually have shorting parents telling you what shorting needs and, you know, what the issues are, then by all means, I mean, me sending an email, yes, but is that really representative of all the
No, I
parents?
mean,
You
I
know?
think, again, like, I think Joe hit the point, like, and I really am not trying to pit schools against each other, because I think that's
No.
horrible. Like, if we're talking like facts, East Plains is a small school. They have the most equipment out of everybody. John H. West and Schwarting are significantly larger. What do I think of that? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into this. Like, it just feels like, I don't know.
Feels like people picked winners. and
Yeah,
losers.
like, I don't want to do that. You asked for us, and the other, I forget the other mom's name who's on the PTA. Meehan?
Stephanie.
She asked for, you know, an additional piece of equipment, and I know that's what you've been wanting. So we went out and we tried to get you, like, honestly.
I
like-
appreciate that, that's great.
But like, if you're coming here and saying like, Joe, you need to spend $500,000 for us to be satisfied, then I understand that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say, I'm not making that decision for the exact same reasons that Mr. Garcia said, which is, no, we're gonna be systematic about this, we're gonna do it the right way.
And that's
Every
fine,
PTA is gonna
that's
have
fine,
their
but
own
you're
concern.
asking what it is that we want, so that's my
So we-
response to it,
so
and
then
how you
I guess-
allocate that going
I guess the
forward, that's
question
fine.
would be, do you you want us as a board to hold off on putting in that playground?
No,
And wait
the
till
parents
it's,
want the playground.
okay, so then that's what we'll do, and then everything else on the wish list goes into the capital
It's
improvement.
not really a wish list, it's more of a necessity list.
But have you been to West?
We have glass and garbage in our field because we are
So
adjacent.
then we'll talk to the custodial staff about that, to see if they can maybe do
It
regular
should be
streets.
tree lined, it's completely adjacent
That's
to
fine,
commercial.
then, I mean, we'll
Can I
get
make a
trees or
Can I make
netting.
a suggestion? What tends to happen here is everybody gets, this is a fourth meeting in 4 days, be the
Yeah.
fifth night
No,
out.
no,
God bless you guys.
Can we pick we got it?
Yeah.
We're working on the
That's it.
playground part, the other stuff's gonna go to a committee.
I was there with the vendors
Can we-
yesterday.
Can we leave here knowing that it is not on the radar, it's in the works, but some of the stuff is gonna have to take some
Of
time?
course,
Okay.
of course. And I, again, am very appreciative. You know, you guys have been very responsive. And it does feel like we have a board of, you know, parents that we can speak to and that listen and understand. And, you know, I'm very appreciative of that.
Just,
So we still doing the playground?
Yes.
Yes?
We
were
met with
there-
the vendor
we
yesterday.
met with the
I
vendor
don't know if
yesterday,
it's what
That's
it
great.
is.
And that's wonderful.
Oh, I mean,
You wanna see what it is? You
Yeah.
want a picture? I'll send you a picture.
He's
Yeah.
come up with a
He's
new-
coming up.
Oh, you doing a new one? All right, well,
why don't
ready,
we,
we'll send it to you.
why don't we leave it here, respect for your time and my time and everybody else is trying to figure out when they can leave.
Yeah.
And you have our numbers.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn? Mr. Morrissey, second. Mr. Panichello, all in favor?
7 in favor, motion carried. 9:51.
Thank you.